Well, folks, we have several different topics that I want to talk about in today's video, including some very strange Nintendo Switch 2 related stories, a bit on the weird side. People think that weird automatically means negative. That's not how it works in my world. It's just something a bit peculiar. We also have a third-party story to talk about, just of an out-of-touch CEO when it comes to pricing. So a lot of things I want to discuss in today's video. At the end of the video, I will be giving an update on my stepdad. So if you've been following that saga, you might want to stick around till the end of the video. If this is your first time here on the channel, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. But without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games. And we're going to start things out with Borderlands 4. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. The Borderlands franchise, it doesn't really do anything for me. Like, I don't think it's bad or anything. I don't think they're terrible games, but they're just not games that really resonate with me. I know that there is the whole aspect of playing with friends and looting and shooting and stuff like that. You know, it can be pretty fun, but I'm not the type of person that, like, a new Borderlands game comes out and I have to rush out there and buy it or something like that. I do know that there are quite a few people that are fans of it. It is a very successful selling franchise, and the fourth entry is a multi-platform release coming out on pretty much everything. But one of the questions surrounding the game was the price point of the game, because it was alluded to that Borderlands 4 could end up being an $80 game. Well, a very interesting discussion was kind of unearthed on the realms of X involving Randy Pitchford. Randy talking with a fan about the potential pricing of the game, and boy, oh boy, are people not happy. So this happened a couple of days ago. Basically, they showed off the developer situation that they had with the game, where they're showcasing the game, they're talking about the game. Nintendo is doing these sort of different things for some third party and second party games. Look at Randy, look at that hair. That is a bold hairstyle there, Randy. But somebody asked, hey, this game better not be $80. Don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increase of the price tag. You're the CEO. You have some say with your price when it comes to your publisher. And I do think that is true. There kind of is a fatigue with a lot of $70 games that you see, where people are a lot more hesitant unless it's something that's like an established IP or something that, just gets crazy good reviews or something like that. If something's kind of a middle ground game or a more niche game, it's not going to sell at the $70 price point. Well, Randy, in his infinite wisdom, said the following: "Not my call. If you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starflight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991 when I was just out of high school working minimum wage in an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen." And you could just see here, like, I'm just going to scroll a little bit, and you could see kind of the reactions here, people accounting for the life, and how, the cost of life versus then versus now with wages and stuff like that. The stuff that I say, and people are like, oh, that doesn't mean anything. But people are not very happy with this sentiment, and I can understand why. Randy, you said the quiet part out loud. You could have easily said, well, it's kind of based on production costs and, the perceived value, of course, world economic situations and stuff like that. You could have easily used those blankets that these companies are falling back on when trying to justify very high price points for games. But no, you just said the quiet part out loud. Like, hey, if it's $80, make it happen. Make it work. And it's like, bro, like, oh, man. And this is something, like I said, it happened a few days ago, but now people are starting to see it. It's starting to get shared on social media, and people are not happy. You don't want to hear that sort of thing. Like, where's your PR person? Where's someone guiding you on how to answer these sort of questions? Like I said, all you had to do is, thank you for the comment. We're taking that sort of stuff into account. World economic conditions, the development costs of the game are going up still, but we're trying to make it as competitively priced as possible. That's all you had to say. Of course, you're going to do DLC and game of the year editions and shit like that. Like, people are just seeing through a lot of this fraudulated things with certain companies, but other companies, it's like, oh, $80, no problem at all. What do you think about Randy's interesting statement involving that? Let me know in the comments section down below. Now we're going to focus more so on the Switch 2 related things, and there are two different stories that I want to talk about with this. And basically, the first story is actually something very cool. Now, there is a game on the Nintendo DS that is a complete hidden gem of a game. It was developed by a company called Sing or King. I don't know. It's C-I-N-G. I don't really know how you say it, but it was called Hotel Dusk Room 215. And it was kind of like a point and click adventure game, story driven, but you did more than just point and click on stuff. It was a very fun game, a really well written story, a lot of mystery and stuff like that. It used the Nintendo DS in very interesting ways as well. You held it sideways, kind of like a book. You used the touchscreen to move around. You used the microphone and stuff like that. Great game. If you have a Nintendo DS or a 3DS, I highly recommend picking up this game or buying a multi-cart to play this game because I think it's a really great game. Well, for the first time ever, Nintendo of Japan has actually re-upped the trademark for the name Hotel Dusk Room 215. Now, what's interesting about that is Hotel Dusk was not called Hotel Dusk in Japan. It had a different name. So for the first time ever, that name has been given a trademark renewal. What's interesting about that, and by extension, is Sing is the same company that did the Another Code or Trace Memory games in the United States. And this was kind of the same sort of situation where those trademarks were renewed. And then, of course, we got the Trace Memory games on the Nintendo Switch or the Another Code collection. Now, going back to Hotel Dusk. Hotel Dusk actually did have a sequel that released only in Japan, I believe. I know it never came out stateside. I'm not sure if it came out in Europe, but there are technically two games in the franchise, which has you playing as the same character from the first game. So I say all of that to say a lot of people are speculating that Hotel Dusk could be getting a collection of games with the two games, one of them never releasing outside of Japan, much like we saw with Another Code on the Nintendo Switch, where the first game, Trace Memory, released on the Nintendo DS in America, and the second Trace Memory game never came out of the Wii in Japan, so they had to translate it and stuff like that. I know that that was a lot of things I just said, but that's kind of how my brain works with things like this, and yeah, I'm excited for this. You know, I hope that this is indeed going to be a Hotel Dusk collection. I think it would make sense to be like a Nintendo Switch 1 game. It's a low-risk, potential high-reward situation. I would wonder how they would kind of change up some of the touchscreen and DS capability features for the Nintendo Switch version of the game, but I would love a collection of these games because, like I said, I've never played the second one. I know there is a fan translation out there, and I have seen that, but these games are super cool. Like, I know it doesn't necessarily seem like my style of game, but I would love to play this game. I think it is a super underrated game, and it's something I'm potentially very excited for. Like, I do hope that this is a collection for Hotel Dusk, and when you look at what they did with the Trace Memory stuff or Another Code, you could kind of see the same similarities. Same developer, same sort of situation with two games releasing, same trademark renewals, and then we got the game. So, have you ever played Hotel Dusk? Like, if you've never played it, you probably don't understand what the hell I'm talking about, but it's a super awesome game, man. Like, criminally underrated. I absolutely love it. Let me know in the comments section down below. And our final story is definitely the weirdest out of the three because, like, the system isn't even out yet. The Nintendo Switch 2 is not even out yet. And I'm already having to hear about this sort of stuff. I'm already having to hear about upgraded versions of the system. And look, you could get mad at me for the Switch Pro stuff, and that's fine. I was just talking with things that were put out there by reputable websites. You can get mad at me for that, because I was very excited for it. I definitely thought we needed a Switch Pro, but you can't get mad at me for this. I'm not the one bringing this up. I'm not the one making it a headline topic. That's why I went with the ambiguous title for this video, because I think it's absolutely ridiculous to be talking about a Switch 2 OLED system. So this is a new report from Bloomberg, who's this is Nintendo Soup did a nice little write-up on it. This report comes from Bloomberg, whose sources claim that the Korean chip company is working on, that being Samsung, is working on customized chips or processors for the new console. It is also claimed that Samsung is working fast enough to ship 20 million units of the console by March 2026, which will be necessary if Nintendo is to meet the extremely high demand for the Switch 2. Going a step further, the sources also claim that Samsung is pushing for Nintendo to use an OLED screen for a potential refresh of the Switch 2. Presumably, this would be similar to how the Switch 1 received an OLED model later on in its lifespan, although it is likely a bit too soon for the Nintendo Switch 2 to be getting a similar new model. So this is coming to us from Bloomberg. So if you want to get mad, you want to get out your pitchforks, you want to talk about clickbait, this, that, and the other, you can go right ahead and you can take your ass over to Bloomberg. I am simply reacting to this news. I am simply responding to this news. Is there a possibility that there would be a Switch 2 OLED system? Of course there is. Like, why wouldn't you think that? Like, more than likely there will be, as screens get better, as OLED screens get better. But you're also seeing the evolution of the LCD screen right now with the Nintendo Switch 2 versus the Nintendo Switch 1. So I don't necessarily think this is something that needs to happen anytime soon. And realistically speaking, I don't think a screen itself would necessarily be worth it, because when you look at the Switch 2's screen, at least from what we've seen and from people's preview events and stuff like that, it's an awesome screen. Like, it does the job, and it does the job very well. So unless there is some incremental boost in power like a Pro system, I wouldn't really see the necessity, geez Louise, for this to be like a thing. And it almost feels like, and I'm not trying to dog on Bloomberg or anything like that, but it almost feels like you throw shit at the wall and see what sticks kind of thing. Because if you look at patterns, then obviously, there is a chance for a Switch 2 OLED to be a thing. But when you look outside of that, when you just look at, what is currently happening, and I get it, these things take years when you're talking about, refreshes and upgrades and stuff like that. But I don't think that's a real talking point right now. Maybe Samsung wants that because they want Nintendo to use a Samsung OLED screen. So I could see that being a potential thing. But I don't think that's anything that, the company is really putting stock into right now. And it's like, goddamn, can't we get the system out before we start talking about revisions and refreshes and stuff like that? Like, it's ridiculous to me. And I'm sure the usual suspects will be making videos on this, and go after them, man. Go after them. I kept it ambiguous. I kept it ominous. I said, these things are weird, because this to me is very, very weird. But maybe it makes sense to you. Maybe this is something you think is a good idea to start talking about before the damn system even comes out. Let me know in the comment section down below. And that's all I have for you guys today. Like I said, a brief update on my stepdad. He is moving to a different rehab facility. He was in the ICU for his stroke. Then they put him in the hospital rehab facility, and now he's going to a different rehab facility on Friday. Still a long ways to go. A very long ways to go, if I'm being perfectly honest. Like, he is making improvements. He was able to stand up for 5 minutes, but like, he's not going to be living on his own anytime soon. He's not going to be working anytime soon and stuff like that. Some of his friends are putting together a GoFundMe. I will share that whenever I get the information. I don't feel obligated to give or anything like that, but there are a lot of expenses with stuff like this when you're not working and you're still having to pay your bills and stuff like that. Your rent, your car note, your insurance. I had to pay his health insurance for like 4 months because the new rehab facility wanted it all paid so that, like, I guess they wouldn't rip him off. And like, if you know anything about healthcare, that shit is super expensive. I was like, good Lord, you are paying a lot for insurance. But, thankfully his insurance is helping with some of the hospital stuff. But yeah, that was, several $1,000s for that. But, he deserves it. Like, he's done so much for me in life, so I owe it to him. Just keep him in your well wishes and prayers. Like I said, when the GoFundMe goes up, I'll share it with you guys. Don't feel obligated. I understand it's very hard out there. It's really more so just for his friends and his family members across, the United States and old business partners and stuff like that. But you know, if you got a couple bucks, you know, feel free to throw it at them. And that's all I got for you guys today. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. And as always, thank you guys for checking out this video. Like I said at the start, if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Hit the bell as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.